but just to show you one more time. This is how an object literal looks like. So we declare the object name. We declare the object and we initialize it with a curly brace. And inside the curly brace, we define what the object is. Because an object is nothing but set of properties and methods separated by comma. That's all we are doing. In the method, I can refer back to the properties using this keyword. That's it. This is what an object literal is. And then I can use that object to access the properties of methods using the dot notation. If it is a method, I would call it and put the parentheses. Now the other way you can do it is using a class. This is you're familiar with from the same concept as you did in Java or C++. You basically create a class first. You use the keyword class, and you give the class a name. Don't forget the name should be uppercase as a convention. If you want to extend some existing class, you can. And then you define a constructor method, which is called constructor. It's very simple. And what do we use the constructor for? To initialize the object. So inside the constructor, you define the properties using the this.property name, and you assign to them whatever has been passed to the constructor. So in here, I am defining the properties and initializing them in one go in the constructor. Very, very powerful. Yes. Sorry. You write it. There is no added automatically. No, not like Java. You have to, because in the constructor, that's where you define the object. That's where you have to basically kind of define properties of the object, of the class. What are the properties? So the property, you see here, outside I didn't define my properties. I defined them inside my constructor. Yes, please. Sorry, the constructor? Yes. That's where basically you define your object properties. Okay. No, this is the most common way. So basically, you see here, I didn't put anything. It's like not like Java. I create the properties outside all the functions, and then I initialize them in the constructor. That's not how it is done in JavaScript. Inside the constructor, I do two things in one go: define the properties and initialize them. And if I have something that is, even if it's not passed to me, let's say this dot date of birth, I can still declare it but not initialize it. So I will have this property, but it's undefined. Or I can initialize it with empty string, whatever I want to initialize it with. So basically the constructor, I use it to declare my properties and initialize them. And then I can use methods that you are familiar with. It's just a function name, parentheses, and I can define what the functions should do. Now, in JavaScript, there is also getters and setters, not very widely used, but just be kind of aware of them. So if you want to define a get, usually you don't need to really, it's not like in Java you have the properties as private and then it provides get and set. That's not very common in JavaScript. Whatever you define here is visible in the object. I think let me just try to quickly do one. So I know what's, okay, so let me go here to the console of Chrome and just here create a class. So I will create a class here. I will call it, let's say, student. And inside this class, I will create, constructor method. Is it spelled correctly? Construct. So inside the constructor is used to initialize the object. So let's just keep it simple. First name, last name, and let's say program. So 3 properties this class will be defining. And inside here, I will do this dot first name. When I see this dot, I am defining a new property for this class, and I initialize it with what I received here. Okay. Then this dot last name equal last name, and this dot program equal program. Okay. So far, I defined the class. Sorry. In here. Okay. Already defined. Okay, no problem. Let me just create, let's say, new student. Okay, so this is the first name, the last name, and the program is CS. Okay, so if I say here, Fatima is basically an object. So I declare the class student, and I use that class to create an object Fatima. And then from this object, I can basically do first name. So all the properties that I've created using the this keyword are visible from the object. I don't need to do get and set to read and write. So I can change the surname, for example. I can say here last name equal, for example. Okay, if I say see, it has changed. So any properties, what I mean here, let me go back here. So any properties I declare using this are basically visible outside in the object. I don't need to provide getters and setters. They are not like in Java, they are private, and then you make them accessible through get and set. That's not very common in JavaScript. In JavaScript, whatever properties you define in the class, they are readable and writable outside the class. Now, you can still have gets and sets, but usually these get and sets, they give you back some computed value. For example, in here, there are 2 ways I can do it. I can just make it a method like this, get full name. And basically, when I call it, I will say, let's say, Fatima.get full name. And I will get that full name at my hand. So let me just copy this. So have a look at this. Full name. Let's copy this. And no, because I don't have a super class anymore, I will just put it here. This dot age equal age. Okay. So here is a full class. Take it here. Let me clear this one and paste this here. So I'm creating a class that has how many properties? 3. First name, last name, and age. And I have how many kind of computed properties, if I say? Basically 2. One is to get and one to set. So let me run this. So now if I want to create, yes, please. I see. Yes, thank you. It's a bug. So allow me to identifier already been declared. Person. Let's say stuff. Okay, yes, you're right. So now what I will do now, I will just create let's say Ali equal new stuff. And what does it expect as an input? First name, surname, and the age, for example. All right. So if I just say Ali, it will give me, this is an object has been constructed. Now I can just say Ali dot last name, L name. It will tell me the last name. Now if I want to access the full name, I can access it like this. It's undefined because I have here a little bug here. Sorry. This should have been F name, not first name, because this one doesn't exist. I get undefined. This is very common. Whenever you see this undefined, means some of the properties you are referring to does not exist in the object. So because I'm putting here get, this becomes like a property. It's computed property. So when I call it, I don't need to put the parentheses. But if I don't put this get and space, let's say it's one word, it's one method, get full name. When I call it, I will say get full name with parentheses. So basically that's the difference between the set and the get and set. The get and set, when I call them, I treat them like properties. But if I don't have get and set, it's just a normal method, I will call it with the parentheses. Okay? So that's basically the core idea of, and usually getters and setters are not to access the basic properties of the class. They are usually to return some computed property, like in here. I'm returning, there is a bug here, so let me fix it. I'm returning the full name, which is a concatenation of the two. Yeah, and the dollar sign, yes, thank you. Yes. When I create the class, you mean? When I create the instance? When I'm creating, is this one? Creating? This is the output. Yes. In here, basically, when I am creating, I'm basically as if I'm calling the constructor method. So I'm just passing the parameters to the constructor. I don't need to pass named parameters. I just pass the parameters. Yes, please. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So in here, when you are calling the constructor, you have to respect this order, of course. Yeah. But inside, it's up to you. There is no control. It's up to you the way you do it. But this is external. This is a contract between you and the caller. So you have to the caller has to follow this order. It's very important. But inside, it's up to you how you handle what you get. Okay? All right. So let us move forward. So of course in here you can also have inheritance and so on. So I already explained this last time. This is just a quick review. So let me just summarize. So you can either create object literals, or you can create first a class and then instantiate the class and use it to create objects. Now the other third way you can create objects in JavaScript is you can create an object from another object. So let's say you already have an object at hand. You create a copy of it, and you can further change the new copy. But the good news is the copy still inherits whatever, still inherits from the initial object. let me explain this through another example. So let me, sorry, let me just clear this one. All right. So far I have here, let's say Ali, okay? And let's say I want to create another object, let's say sister of Ali, but from this same object. So what I will do here, I will say let's say, what name should we give? Sarah, okay. Equals what? Object dot create. So I'm creating an object from another object. So, and I will say here Ali. So after we create, of course, they are exactly the same. So if I say here Sarah dot full name and define Ahmed, because let me just, I will just go back to my browser, just refresh this page, open it, yeah. Attributes and methods that are with Ali. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it together. So let me just bring back this, and let me do it one more time here. I just put here get, just to show you the difference between a method and a property, and a get property. So in here these do exactly the same thing. So let me just copy this again and do it one more time. So I'll come here and then I paste this here. So I have now a class called person. Let's use this class to create an object. So let Ali equals new person. What does it expect? First name, Ali, and last name, and the age, 30. Okay, so far I have defined a new object, Ali. Is clear so far? Now, if I want to access read or write properties, all I do, I use the dot notation. And you can see here, this is the last name. This is the full name. Remember the full name, which is a get property. Now, I have also get full name, which is a method. So if it is a method, when I call it, I have to put it with the parentheses. If I just call it like this, I am asking for the definition of the function. That's not what I want. I want the execution of the function, which is basically like this. Is clear? So that's the difference between a getter property and a get, like in this case, a get method. If it is a method, when you call it, you put the parentheses. If it is a get property, when you call it, you treat it like any other property that you have declared in the constructor. Yes? Now, all right. Now, let's assume we have an object, Ali. Let's assume we don't have a class, just for a second. Somehow we have an object, and we want to create another object. So one way, of course, is to start from scratch. But we don't want to do that. We want to create a new object based on an existing one. Yes? That's what we want to do. So what I will do here, I will say let Sarah equal create object.create. One of the methods of object is create. And I'll say create this new object from an existing object. Yes? Now, here it is. So what I will do here, if I just say Sarah full name, still saying Ali Ahmed, I can go and say Sarah dot f name. Okay. Now, if I ask for the full name again, it's changed. Of course, Ali has not been affected with this change. Now, so basically, what I did here, I created an object based on another object. Yes? You following so far? Now let's go back to Ali and extend it with a new property. This is the power of JavaScript and the nature of it, because it is a dynamic language. I can take an object and add more properties and more functions to it. So what I will do here, I will say ali.city equal Doha. Yes? And basically, if I go to Sarah and they do city, also Doha. Are you following what's going on here? So I created an object from another object, but that new object inherits stuff from the original object. So if I extend the original object, the new object also receives the new properties or the new methods. Okay? Yeah. No, because the new object has its own property. Yes. Only new properties will show up. Yes. So let's try it. Very good question. So if I say here Ali.first name, and I will say, I don't know, Khalid. All right. So if I say here Sarah.full name or first name, still Sarah. Okay. No. What changes is if I add or change or add a new attribute or add a new method, those new methods that I add to the original object are also available in the kind of derived object. Not the opposite. Yes, not the opposite. If I say here Sarah.country, will this be visible to Ali? No. Ali.country and defined. Very good. It's clear? So, yes, please. Yes, I can add. Have a look at this. So here, Sarah dot, let's say greeting equal function and I can say console.log something hello I am this dot fname. Yes, are you following? So here what I did now, I created a new function and I added it to Sarah. Now if I say here Sarah.greeting, it will say hello, I'm Sarah. Of course, will Ali have this method? No. Yes. This is not a function. It's not even there. Sorry, I will just do one more thing. If I do the same, sorry, just 1 second. If I do here, let's say I go here, Ali, instead of greeting, I create another one here, salam. Okay. And in here, I will say salam, I am whatever. Okay. Now, if I say Ali.salam, oh, sorry. It will say salam, I am Khalid. Okay. Now, will Sarah get this salam method? Yes. Because Sarah was derived from Ali. So it's not only a copy. Yes. Okay. So create object. It's not only creating a copy. It's basically inheriting from. There is object inheritance. So you are familiar with class inheritance. A class can inherit from another class. When it inherits from that class, of course, all the properties and methods will be available in the derived class. But in here, we are doing inheritance at the object level. Okay, and basically when I inherit, initially they will be the same, but if I add some extra capability, extra properties, or extra methods, or I change the behavior of the original object, the newly created object will also get this new behavior. Is it clear? So it's not just a copy. Yes, please. Even if we change the type. Now, the derived object, because it has its own property, whatever you do to that property will not be affected, because it has its own. Okay? Yes, please. No, no. So let's see, because Sarah has its own. So let's go back to greeting. Here I will say Ali, okay? Let's say yes. So for Ali, I made it good morning. Now if I say Ali.greeting, what I will see here, good morning, I'm Khalid, okay? Oh, it changed his name. Anyway, now if we go to Sarah and say .greeting, what we will get? Hello, I am Sarah. Because it has its own function, kind of it's overridden the function that kind of inherited from Ali. Now, to really understand this, let me show you how to really understand what's going on. So one way to understand it, I will just say here object dot get prototype of Sarah. So what is the prototype? Based on which object this Sarah object was created? It was based on this object. Now, when I say, let me show you. When I say Sarah.greeting, okay? What it will do, the JavaScript runtime will first check is this method defining this object? If yes, it will run that method. Now, if it is not defined, where it will look? In the prototype on which that object was based. And it will say, is this method exist in this prototype? If not, what it will do? It will try to see the prototype of that prototype. Okay, just a second. Does it has its own property greeting? Yes, it has its own property greeting. Now, when I defined Sarah, did I create this method called has its own property? I did not create it. Now, how the runtime resolved this method? How does it know where is this method defined? So it went into 3 layers. So first it says, Sarah, do you have this method called has its own property? It says no. Then the runtime will go into the prototype, which is Ali. So I ask Ali, do you have this method has its own prototype? Sorry, own property? It's not defined in Ali. So it will go to object. And then object, there is a method called has own prototype. Yes? So that's basic. So really the way it works, JavaScript is a prototype-oriented language. The inheritance hierarchy is established using prototype. And prototype is nothing but a property that says, oh, this object is based on this other object. And that object is based on another object. And these prototypes, they form what is known as a prototype chain. So when you call a method, the Java runtime will go through the chain and find out if that method exists. If it goes to the roots and it's not there, it will say function does not exist. Okay, so if you remember, Sarah, for example, she doesn't have the property salam. It will say false. It does not have its own property, but if I say Sarah.salam, it still says salam. What's going on here? It does not have this property, but at the same time is able to do it. It's from Ali. So if we ask Ali, what do you think? If we ask Ali, what the return type will be? What the return of this will be true? Now, if I ask Ali, do you have this method here has own property? It will say false. But now, who has this property, do you think? Objects. Is that inheritance between objects in JavaScript is established using prototype, which means an object can be based on another object. The base object will be assigned to a special property called prototype. Okay? And if you don't mind, instead of object.create, there is another one called object. Let's say Sarah dot equals object.assign. And what object.assign does, it creates basically a copy without inheritance. So here is, let's say, Sarah. And basically, Sarah now is a copy, is a clone of Ali. But if I do any extensions of Ali, they will not be visible in Sarah, because this is just a copy. A copy that is not linked to the original object. Now let me just prove this one more time. That's the last thing I will do. Object.get prototype of Sarah. You see here, what is the prototype? Because I used assign, what is the prototype of Sarah? Object. It's not Ali. So any extensions to Ali will not be visible to Sarah because the prototype is different. You get the idea? This assign is very, very powerful. Let me, this last, I keep promising this is the last. Assign is very, very powerful method. What you can do is you can grab multiple objects and combine them into one. So in here what I'm doing, this is an empty object. I construct it using many, many objects. All the properties of this object will be merged together into one object. This is really where assign is very, very useful. And please play with it. I have a very good example here. So assign is used in a different context. Really, in real life, you use it when you have multiple objects and you want to use them to construct a bigger object. This is where really JavaScript really starts to excel, much beyond what really object-oriented programming in Java. It's much, much more powerful. All right, so that's it for today. Inshallah, next time we will start asynchronous JavaScript programming. I already posted some slides and some examples. Okay, thank you.